So we've gone through the seven.
These or this?
The one in your left.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were discussing the dogmatic Theotokian and the fact that a Theotokian or a Theotokian is just something for the Mother of God, the Theotokos, and then dogmatic because it always deals with something dealing with the nature of Christ. But a lot of the things about the nature of Christ somehow deal with the Mother of God because, was Christ fully human? It's like, well, that deals with the Mother of God. That deals with how we define who she is. Was Christ both God and man? That also deals with this whole issue. So
Well, she was fully human, but she gave birth to God.
So then dogmatic, all these essentially for the resurrection, the dogmatic Theotokia, all of them deal with some issue that had been fought over and needed to be clarified. So there's other Theotokia, but these are specifically the ones that always have some sort of dogmatic nature to them. And after the both now in general, you have glory, but then after the both now in general, you have something for the Mother of God, and sometimes the chanters will say that's because the both now not only refers to glorifying the Trinity, but the both now also means the virginity of the Mother of God, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages, that, it's always. So sometimes that's a prayer to her as well. So, let's sing the dogmatic Theotokian just straight from the King of the Heavens, and then we'll go back. So, if you guys don't mind doing it on Nipavu. Otherwise, we can jump to sing it regular. Okay. At least this once. So, we'll see how it goes.
Although I have an advantage, I just had some practice.
Yep. So.
Rejogging my memory.
Neagies, the King of the heavens, out of love for man, hath appeared on earth and lived among men. For he that hath taken flesh of the pure Virgin, and come forth from her with what he hath received. Okay, so how'd that go up until there?
That went fine except for where I was thinking, something was a different note than it was.
Okay, so keep going, or how did that? Keep going through?
Not
Go back to the
is
beginning?
one son.
Okay, is one son.
Okay.
Is one son to fold of nature, but not in hypostasis. Wherefore, proclaiming him as truly perfect God and perfect man, we confess Christ our God. Do thou beseech him, O Mother, who knewest not wedlock, to faster or
We
same
could
speed?
put them together like this and have them both.
Yeah, let's do it like from the beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And same speed or
Oh, a little faster, I guess.
okay. Again, the King of the heavens, God of love for man, hath appeared on earth and lived among men. For he that hath taken flesh of the pure Virgin, and come forth from her with what he hath received, is one Son twofold of nature, but not in hypostasis. Wherefore, proclaiming him as truly perfect God and perfect man, we confess Christ our God. Do thou beseech him, O Mother, who knewest not wedlock, to have mercy on our souls. Yep.
Could you sing the scale, both up and down,
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't make a mistake when I try to hit the note going down?
Sure.
In other words, I don't seem to be hitting the interval right on the descent.
So it's Ni pavuga vikezo ni zoke kavupani.
It was the goo.
Di kavupani.
No, when you did it, you actually did the
There's
goo
that one's
a little bit
diminished
flatter
a
than
little
I
bit.
expected it to be.
Okay. But the zo is the real key.
Can you do it again?
Ni pavuga vikezo ni zoke
only when you come down.
kavupani.
Okay, this time it wasn't as much.
Right.
It's
But-
only
That was my
when you
mistake
go
then.
down.
And
You have the vikezo ni zoke vi. Yeah, when you're going past so, or kind of hitting it and circling
Very
around
short.
it, then it stays natural. But if you're going down and descending
Yeah.
past it, then it goes.
Is it always like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At least in these diatonic scales, and what we'll be doing mostly in general. But
I'm just so used to seeing what I'm seeing. I never analyze it, right?
And then
So
if you just hit it like vikezoke zoke vi, vikezoni zoni pani zoke vi.
okay.
If that if you're just hitting it, not going above it, it's flat. If you're going above it, then it's natural, and if you're just kind of circling around it, then it's natural. And what the people would say is that it's the natural attraction between notes, kanzo. The ear wants them to be closer together in certain circumstances, so we do that.
Mhm.
And in fact, there's been some studies done that if you play like a flute set to these intervals and you play the same scale, your ear changes what it hears because it wants to pull it down. So So I think
Is
like
that why we go flat naturally?
Mm-mm.
that's just
That's breath
That's just-
control.
and yeah,
Yeah, I mean when we're singing.
I don't think that's why it would go natural. I think that's just that we're normally one of the reasons is more that what we like to do is talk voice. So I've actually had a priest in Pittsburgh who like he wasn't as much of a singer per se, but he over time he got better. But especially in the beginning, he started his positions up here, and then he kept going down until he got the talking voice, and then he was eventually down here, and then us singing with them was really eventually we were in the basement. Because like a lot of it was the core muscles that weren't there and just the breath flow going through. Just because we want to go down until we're easy. And so normally we go to wherever we talk. So
Okay.
yeah, and a lot of people talk way lower than I think what the speech pathologist would tell them to talk. So including myself, because if I talked where they want me to talk, it would sound kind of funny.
Are you serious?
Well, when I went to a speech pathologist, they were like, talk up here, like, how are you doing today? I'm doing very well, thank you. That type of thing. They wanted to be,
Okay, so you're supposed to talk lighter.
yeah, up in the higher
Higher.
timbre of the voice. So that way we don't talk.
Like that.
Yeah, and every so often my mom and I would do that at home, and like my brothers would be like, come on, people. But a lot of times we talk very deep in the voice.
It's bad for your vocal cords.
And especially if you're a teacher, which my mom was, like if she was talking down here the entire day, then like she eventually was like, "Good morning, students. How are you doing?" Like that type of up
Did
there.
she find it helpful?
Oh, tremendously, yeah.
Okay.
Well, like to a certain degree, like in a certain context.
But for autistic students, they found that using higher registers voice is actually counterproductive.
I see.
It disturbs.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask her if she ever, because she
So-
had special ed students as well. So I'll have to ask her if she ever noticed anything. I know at least for her, it helped her get through longer days without vocal tiredness. To learn how not to like really be hefty in her voice, but to be a little bit more floaty on top of things. It wasn't like falsetto-ish. It was still,
Do you know, are you familiar with smoking and vocal cords, what it does?
I was told what it does, and what in general I believe it.
Like even if you only smoke a little bit, like let's say, for example, maybe I've smoked a few cigarettes in the past, but
Yep.
not a lot.
Yeah.
Over time, what does it do? Does it still affect your voice?
What it does, as far as I know, and I'll have to talk. I was talking to a chanter who smokes, and
He smokes, actually?
yeah, but he's very familiar with like the vocal folds and what it does, and he was telling me that in general, one, it irritates,
Right.
and so then the way that they rub together is irritated and sometimes could be swollen, I guess. But as far as I know, it also, because it can deposit certain things on the vocal folds, and they don't necessarily go away.
Oh.
You?
Yeah. So.
But because every time I sing, I feel like I'm like it's sore, it hurts. Not every time I sing,
Yeah.
but like after a Sunday liturgy here, I'm just
Yeah.
like,
No, that might be. I don't know if it really depends. I'm not sure if that would really be what it was, or whether there's like
Probably
a.
would need to see an ENT.
Yeah,
take a
because
look at
they
my
can tell you whether there's like a
vocal
vocal nodule or whether there's like a paralyzed vocal fold,
Mhm.
or something like that. And a vocal nodule is just like a. I don't know if you're familiar with vocal nodules, but they're just like a protuberance, which, like essentially, not I wouldn't call it like a tumor, but like something like essentially there's a swollen part. I guess the same way like a callus almost, where there's a part that somehow through overuse ends up rubbing together in a certain way, and then it kind of builds up, and then eventually you have like a certain buildup that doesn't go away, and that you have this kind of bump there, which then doesn't allow your vocal folds to fit together as they should, and then can kind of form like a hoarseness, or sometimes where, if you're like na, and then there's a big jump, and there's no way to
A
mix
lot
the
of
middle.
times if I'm singing in a high register, I'm not belting it, but like I'm trying, like I'll have that kind of hiccup
Yeah,
in the middle of it,
it might.
in the middle of a friggin' concert.
Yeah,
When I was singing solo
Yeah,
in
yeah.
college,
yeah,
it happened on a high G, and I was like,
yeah,
he's never gonna have me do a solo again.
yeah. Nah,
I
that's
don't know what happened.
that might also
was
just be where your break
It
is. But,
happened after my third child.
mhm.
Where the whole register
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, the children change all sorts of, like, where.
Hormones change
Yeah.
things. But
But
I always thought nodules are like little tumor things that could be taken off the vocal cords.
well, they can
Not
yeah they
on
can
the
do
vocal
surgery.
cords.
Yeah. In general, they don't like to do surgery. What they would prefer is that people go see a speech pathologist and a vocal rehabilitator, and then certain vocal warm ups, certain ways of like being careful with the voice. And I know when I had all sorts of acid reflux issues,
Mhm.
and still do. But
Cool.
at some point, especially when I was really diligent with certain things, it helped tremendously to really improve all sorts of things, but also for a certain while, and it helped that it was during the summer that I started. They were like, don't sing anything above this note because you're comfortable in this range. You don't do anything wrong within this range, so only sing this range. So they gave me art pieces that were only in that range, and then eventually it was kind of like, let's build up a little bit on the top. Let's keep building. Let's keep building. Let's build a little bit lower, and then eventually making sure that it was always done in a nice fashion. And I've noticed that when I don't necessarily do that, at times it kind of descends. And so I know now I'm kind of like I should go back to a speech pathologist and a voice teacher that focuses in vocal rehabilitation is completely different than a voice teacher regular. Because a lot of times a voice teacher regular doesn't really have any knowledge about how to fix things or how to help people, and they don't really listen so carefully to certain things. But
Where do you find one of these people?
sometimes if you go to the ENT, they will know.
ENT?
The ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Oh,
And so
Dr. Graham in Fall Street.
and some of them,
Really good.
some of them do. So the one I had in Philadelphia had like a voice team on staff. So like you would go to him for like your checkup and all these things, but then you would go to the voice rehabilitator and then the speech pathologist also, and they oftentimes had connections as to who to talk to. And which got me hooked up with somebody in Pittsburgh. But down here there is like another ENT voice team. They didn't accept my insurance, so I didn't go there. But so maybe I'll go there at some point. But yeah, so there are sometimes practices like that where they actually keep it all in house. But
So we just go to our ear,
nose, and throat doctor.
And
Yeah.
throat guy, and we ask him for a what? What do you call the kind that's not just like training you operatically?
So that would be a voice rehabilitator.
They're actually called that. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes. What else could it be? Yeah. Somebody just focusing in voice rehabilitation, because they'll do certain key things. Like there's certain things that I would never do with a voice teacher that I did with them, because they were like, they took the time to really say, okay, your voice is not where I want it to be. Let's back up. And it was amazing. I was super impressed with them, especially because a lot of voice teachers that I had, when you messed up, it was my fault, because like I didn't do it well, and they were not wrong. I was the one that was wrong. The voice rehabilitators, both of them that I had in Philly and Pittsburgh, both, they would apologize to me on a regular basis. They'd take me in a certain range. They were like, I'm sorry, I really thought I thought it was there, and then let's pull it back and switch something and try and figure something out. Figure out how we can navigate a certain passageway. And it was really a lot more positive experience in my, just because I was having issues. And sometimes voice teachers like, come on, sing it, use more air. And their only solution was use more air. The voice rehabilitator was like, there's something else here, because they knew like you can only use so much air, and I'm not trying to be a negligent student, So I really liked them a lot. And they're classically trained, and sometimes they've actually trained some of the best people in the world, because they're an opera singer who's like sung too many times on the Metropolitan Opera stage and like busted their voice, and they need it back. So they go
I've
down.
seen children's voices get ruined from their parents trying to make them do things they shouldn't do.
So and that's where, like, if with the ear, nose, and throat doctor, they'll do like the through the nose laryngeal. Well, laryngeal stroboscopy is a better technique. Laryngeal stroboscopy.
How do we spell that?
I'll put the screen up.
Oh yeah, I got one of those going once a year.
So
Really?
This is what you get when you have a scientist going to the ear, nose, and throat doctor and asking all sorts of questions, and they let me look at all the things. They were like, no one normally wants to look at these images, but I was all excited.
Well, of course, I always like to see the
Well,
images.
I'd like to see it too.
Okay.
What does my throat look like and tell me what that means.
Laryngeal.
Laryngeal, having to do
Just
with
like
the
the
larynx.
Yeah.
Stroboscopy.
Mm-hmm.
What is strobos?
Like a strobe
Like
light.
a strobe light.
Strobe light, yeah. So it's a way of imaging the vocal folds, but using the pulsed light, so that you can, because they operate very quickly. You know, like if you're singing something in A440, they're probably operating at some sort of 440 hertz. So they slow it down using the strobe light. And then if you get like video, the video version of this is especially good.
Mm.
But the one, I don't know if it's specifically laryngeal stroboscopy, but the one that down here at the doctor that I go to, they just essentially numbed my nasal passages and then went through the nose and looked down it that way using an infrared scope. The one I like better is where they actually go through the mouth and they actually have a really nice high-def camera and they can do this video laryngeal stroboscopy. And then they actually image it and they can take pictures and so someone later can look and see how it's progressed or
Who
how it
does
looks.
that one?
That was the one ENT doctor that I wasn't able to go to.
What's his name? Maybe we can.
If you type in, I think, was it Falls Church ENT? Because I went to Fairfax ENT, but if you type in like Falls Church ENT and like voice team or something like that, it'll come up.
Voice team.
Yeah, it should come
Well,
up.
I do like my ENT fellow, who's right over next door to Sears.
Hmm.
This fellow is one of the most careful cerebral people looking at sinuses and things like that I've ever seen in all my years, which are considerable. And that's Dr. Gurian. Maybe he has voice, or maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he has an opinion.
Yeah.
About a team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and oftentimes they do because they deal with all sorts of people. And I at the doctor that I went to, I specifically said like, I sing, here's what I'm here for, because he wanted to know what were the issues. But then I asked him at the end of the appointment for a speech pathologist, a list of them, and on that list they already had it compiled because people asked for that. But then on that list, I think it specialized with people who take insurance so that it can be covered, but also with people who focus on voice people, because someone who's speaking all the day is different than someone who wants to sing. So it's different. But the laryngeal stroboscopy I really liked to watch, and you get to see, and they can actually point out, oh, here, your vocal folds are combining really nicely. One of them actually asked me whether I had what type of voice lessons I was taking, because he could tell by the vocal folds how they were joining, because they were closing completely, at least the one time. Hopefully they still are. But which is specifically a key of operatic training. They close completely, whereas in Broadway sometimes they don't do that, I guess. And other
What's the difference
techniques.
in the technique?
Well, so it's a way of reaching your ring, getting the ring, getting a forward. Opera has a forwardness, but almost like a bright sadness. It's a dark brightness where it's forward, but it has a depth to it. A lot of times, it's kind of like the difference between if I were to sing non can try, that type of thing, as opposed to non, like a very forward, bright, hello my baby, that type of very forward, as opposed to hello, that having a depth behind it.
So the operatic, you're saying, it just has the more depth behind it, which makes the vocal folds close
and
together.
And how you end up navigating the passaggio and various things as well. And I don't know enough about the two different techniques, but what I was told was specifically if you learn the classical methods of teaching voice, you can be mobile in terms of you can go to Broadway, you can go to this, but if you learn Broadway, you can't necessarily do opera. You can't go.
I was classically trained.
Yeah, which is good. And there's different versions of classical, but
as far as I understand,
but in general classical.
What kind of stuff are you singing?
It's
But classical arias.
Basic,
Arias are
and
Italian
stuff like
songs,
that.
yeah.
And I think there's a difference between certain kinds of voices in classical. So not all of them are the yo-yo kind. In other words, if you say yo, you can get that sound.
Yeah.
Yo!
Yeah. No, there's and there's different dramatic or lyrical or all sorts of things.
Lyric.
Yeah.
And then whenever I sing now, I just kind of like I play with my voice, you know. So I kind of like I did barbershop too. So I mean, they get
nasal. Yeah.
It's all about. But I already had that, so I did.
Yeah.
I was a natural barbershop sound.
It's probably genetic, you know.
Yeah, that's how they get their ring. But yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily think that it was any vocal nodules. That wouldn't be, but that sometimes that could be a thing to just watch out for.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Sorry for that very long sidetrack.
Our slight detour.
Oh, is it time to go?
Not exactly.
We're gonna do the dogmatic Theotokian fast.
And you guys are good for it. We can sing the glory and then the both now, and then do that. And that just to clarify that. So the things here are twofold nature, but not in personhood, in hypostasis. One person, two natures. Let's see. Perfect God and perfect man. I had one person who said he's 100% God and 100% man, and our priest was like, no, because that makes him 200%, and that means he's a monster. So he didn't like that terminology. It's like if he's 100% this and 100% that, he's like fully is a better term, or perfect,
We're not putting percentages for the Holy Trinity, so why would he want to add the 100%?
Right, exactly. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So fully is a better term, but yeah. Glory to the Father, and then both now.
Sorry, where?
The beginning of the dogmatic Theotokian. Nope, where Christ is. So we'll sing glory on a little bit slower, and then we'll speed it up, and then we'll do both now, and then we'll speed it up. So what's our first note? On glory.
No.
Not on glory.
That's a sixth.
Yep, up a sixth.
It's either so high or so low.
Yep,
Anyway.
up 5 notes. So, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit. Cool. How'd that feel?
Feels like I want to count at the beginning, of course.
Yeah. Let's do it one more time. So, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit.
I wanted to go up on spirit.
Oh yeah. We got the Spirit.
No, I mean like on speed.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. Both now. So, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Cool. All right, let's go straight through a little bit faster, and then we'll sing the dogmatic.
Okay.
So glory. Glory to.
Oh, we're starting at the top.
Yeah, we'll just go straight through.
Okay.
Did
through the
I
rest
start
of it.
on the wrong note?
No, I was singing down here to the Theotokian, and everybody else was singing.
Was I singing right now?
I did spring.
You had no idea. You were busy singing your own thing. Okay,
No,
here we go.
you weren't singing what I was singing, but
I wasn't?
not exactly.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Yep. Bless you. So,
Okay.
nope. So, you went da da da.
I went to get that note, right? Oh. 7th. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. This is hard.
NBC. So, they never really helped me, but they seem to help people.
I know, I need to memorize these things. I just have a lot on my plate.
Yeah. No pun
Anyway,
intended.
I'm not one of these people who does a lot, like, can do a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I personally, I'm low key, and I'm not like some people I know who just can do so much, and I'm just like, oh, I just want to go home and sleep.
I know, no problem. Yeah. Let's sing it through one more time. So glory, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Every time we see a time signature, do we pause? Phrase signature, do we pause?
You can.
Because we did a whole rest.
Well, that's because we had the Klasma on ever. Ever and unto the ages of ages. Amen. So, the King of the heavens. The King of the heavens, out of love for man, hath appeared on earth and lived among men. For he that hath taken flesh of the pure Virgin, and come forth from her with what he hath received, is one Son twofold of nature, but not in hypostasis. Wherefore, proclaiming him as truly perfect God and perfect man, we confess Christ our God. Do thou beseech him, O Mother, who knew is not wedlock, to have mercy on our souls. Yep. Sometimes, even though it's written, sometimes it is written, but what you hear the chanters do, some of them, not always, they'll go, souls. Some of them do that. Some of them just hold souls.
I started doing that because
I felt
Yep.
like,
yeah, exactly.
I felt like
Mimicry is what's
you went
called.
up three.
Yeah.
I felt the. Why did we go up to thee?
We don't. That's the E-son written there. It says thee.
Okay, that's the E sign. Even though, they're all in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little arrow.
Which means the low. E-son.
Okay.
To have mercy on our souls. soles, and then M. Have we talked about M? You probably know what M means, right?
Oh,
So, okay, so above the music, just to clarify, at least since this is a piece of music.
We is doing it together.
So, yeah, M means mazi, which means together. So, if it's like
as
this,
opposed to meze.
so this is, the isan. Sometimes it's not written in parentheses. Sometimes it's written just like that, or it could be, with just your little written out like that. If there's an arrow by it, it means the downward isan, the lower isan. If it's M, sometimes I say melody because that makes more sense for English speakers. This means follow the melody. But mazi is the Greek word, but melody fits just as well. So.
But in a phrase like this, I don't see why they would put it just on the last couple notes.
Well, there's a whole different thing when you listen to certain choirs as to how they sing together. Some of them would just stay down, but so, and then everyone goes everyone comes back together, as opposed to some people saying the souls, which gives a whole different. It's almost like finishing together. You're tying the loose ends up. Everyone's on the same page.
Is that low G?
No, that's lower than low G because that's no, that's probably a low E. Let's see. Is that really a low E for today?
What?
You sound like a man.
Well, that's how the voice works.
I can't go that low.
Oh, just in that sharp. No.
Oh my gosh, I can.
No.
No, that's an octave higher.
Oh, is it?
Yep. No. No.
Oh wait. Shoot, is that two octaves higher?
No.
I thought it was just.
Yep.
I wasn't quite hitting it, and I can only do a G.
Okay, yeah.
So I knew something was.
Yeah, it's a low F sharp.
So you are a bass, or do basses actually go even lower?
Oh well, it's a true bass.
Profundos go lower, but a normal low bass is around there.
Yeah, I think I was doing a thing the other day, and I would be considered a dramatic tenor. Or no, sorry, dramatic baritone is my.
Or baritone bass. Some people call
baritone
them
bass.
Baritone bass.
But the way I guess the heft with which I would sing certain things and how I carry things into the upper range. Essentially, the only reason why I would say dramatic baritone is because of where my breaks are. And oftentimes they're like, well, for a dramatic baritone, like B flat and E flat are where your breaks are. And if I go off and I'm like, oh, there I break, oh, E flat, break, So those are my two treble spots.
Okay.
What, E flat?
Yeah, the high E flat. So, which it's not that I can't go higher, but oftentimes that's where I specifically would crack. So, it's not necessarily difficult. But if I'm playing around with it, it's right there. It's right where that crack happens. So.
Oh, you hit it right on.
Oh yeah.
You did. It was
Yeah.
nice.
So.
It's very pure and clean.
So, but it's funny. Well, that was intentional. Falling off.
There's an overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. I essentially have two registers, and there's an overlap of a few notes in between them, where I can do those notes more easily descending than ascending, and so in my mind I can trick myself by putting in a note that's not in the music, that's lower, and then coming up to it and then hitting it.
We have one of our choral teachers in Pittsburgh, Dr. Robert Page, who's really famous for choral development. He had a thing where if you were just going there's that overlap region, and if you're just going one or two notes out of your comfort zone, he was like, don't switch voices. He was like, because I don't want that sound in my choir. He was like, but if we're going out of it, he was like, then switch. He was like, but if you're just hitting it, he was like, I don't want any switching. He was like, you can stretch your vocal folds just past that, which you can. So, so that at least for his choirs, he was very particular about certain things. He was like, sopranos, he'd get upset at them. So, but yeah.
You have to be not out of breath.
Yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
do that. So if you're taking a sneak breath, I don't know what those are called really.
Oh, it's a shora.
It's a what?
Cesura.
How do you spell that?
Cesura, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was pronounced completely.
Cesura? Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be like your little catch breath.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not necessarily written in the music and you wouldn't actually cut anything. It's just, you know,
the
pure, you know, just enough to pull it.
You have to do that or you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so 8:59. Rather than start something new. Be done?
Let's start something new.
You want to start something new? Well, it'd be doing the apostica.
We've been yakking half the time anyway.
Yeah,
so
it'd be the
we really
apostica.
haven't been saying that. Huh?
It'd be the apostica. The next page. After Christ. Yep, that one. Yep, that should be it. The brief apostica right there. Goddess descend
This is
across.
all part of our packet, right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly where we are.
This is the one. This is the extra one that Father David thought was wrong somehow. But I think it's because it was only the end part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can give this to someone else.
Okay, sure. I'll take it. Yeah.
Because I also have it here. See?
Oh.
Now this is two-sided.
Yep.
Aha! This is the one that worked.
Yeah, that.
Gave me. I think.
No, that's the original one that I gave you, I think.
No, both of these in the front are Father David having a hard time with the printer.
I see.
Yes.
So the apostica, which I think we talked briefly about it last week, but the only thing that I want to say about the apostica is that so there's a few terminology here. Do you know about it, Doris?
Terminologies? About apostica, no.
Like where what that means or why it's termed differently?
I don't remember.
Okay, so you have a thing called a troparia, right? And a troparia is just any hymn, and we can talk about that at some point. So a troparion is one hymn, and troparia is multiple hymns. So that would just be your general term for a hymn, some poetic thing. Then you have the Huron, which is a troparion, which specifically deals with a stichos. And a stichos, so stichos just means verse of a psalm. And this is a little, if you ever see it in like a book. So this is just a verse, and then this is a troparion that comes after the verse. So a stichuron is one that stichos, they're kind of linked together. That's good so far?
So a stichuron, you said, is like a troparion that
comes after a verse of the Psalms.
comes after a verse of the Psalms.
So if I said like, bring my soul out of prison that I may confess thy name, and then I sing something, that's the stichuron.
Okay.
So
yes, got it.
so far. So and apostica. So we still have the sticha term here. So we still have some sort of verse.
Okay.
But the apostica, if you look, the verse of the psalm doesn't come first. There's no like in the apostica number 1. There's no psalm verse before it. So apo is like on top of. Is a Greek word, just means on top of or from or various different ways you can translate it. But in this case, we'll just say, like, we'll translate as on the verse. So it's on top of the verse.
Okay.
So it's essentially sitting on top of it. So you sing the hymn, then you say a psalm verse. So it's different than these, where this one always starts with a psalm verse and then the hymn. This is a hymn followed by a psalm verse.
Oh, okay.
So it's just kind of reversed.
Okay.
So that's why they get. It's still the same type of thing, but it's just a different formulation. So that's why they give it a different terminology. So sometimes you see these terms in books, and it's kind of like, well, what is that? That they're all troparia.
So all of these are apostica is a troparia too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
It's just the type of troparia.
There's a misnomer inside of a lot of like certain books, and especially inside of Slavic things, where certain very specific things are called a troparion, and troparion and katakian. Those are your normal things like you'd sing during liturgy, but that's the wrong word for it. Troparion is a very general term for all sorts of things. That hymn is technically called a dismissal hymn.
The Kentuckian?
No, the one that's sung during liturgy, that's called a troparion oftentimes.
Oh, I see.
The term, that's just a super general term.
This is missing one page.
Oh.
And both of these are the ones that he didn't set the thing on the computer for.
Okay.
The, what do you call it?
Double-sided.
Two-sided.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
Okay.
I'll fill it up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Apostica.
Yeah, so we'll sing Apostica number 1 and then we'll be done. Okay, so that is Descend the Cross.
I've been looking for this. Okay.
So we're middle of the pack probably.
After what we were just doing?
What page is it?
It's at the very end. The last 3 pages.
So before that. One more. That is Descend. Thou didst ascend the cross, O Jesus, who didst descend from heaven. Thou camest unto death, O immortal life. Thou camest unto those in darkness, O thou who art the true light. Thou camest unto the fallen, O resurrection of all. O our light and our Savior, glory be to thee. Nice. Any questions on that one specifically?
You're too nice. You're too kind. No, I just need to practice.
Yeah, sometimes where this well, you were doing all sorts of stuff.
I'm always messing up on some of these rhythm things, like camest unto the fallen.
Oh.
I don't understand why they put a measure between, after camest un.
Yeah, so the reason there is because if you were to do, let's see, O thou who art the true light, thou camest unto the fall. Now our meter has fallen off because they go out of duple 1 2 1 2 and they go to a triple meter there. Thou camest unto the fallen, O resurrection of all. So that's they go out of that because these are brief. Then oftentimes we go with the flow of the words, the pattern of the syllables. So thou camest unto the fallen. So that gives it like a triple meter feel. And so he decided at least to stress it, thou camest unto the fallen. That was his decision, because English is modular like that. But you could have done, thou camest unto the fallen. You could have done it differently.
That's what I thought made more sense.
So what he probably did was, thou camest unto the fallen. And he just ignored any stresses in the middle because they're kind of auxiliary stresses. They're not the big stress points of the... It's kind of a composer's and linguistic thing that you have to deal with sometimes, especially with English. It's not the most fun thing to deal with.
I just find that whole the tempo of the whole true light and thou camest unto the fallen between the 4 and the 3 very confusing.
Okay. Would you like to do it again then?
Or? No, I would like to understand it. There's one, two.
Yep. So just to put it hopefully clearly. Let's see. So
1, 2, 3, 4.
So if I do this, 1, 2, 3, and then I have a little intervening symbol. We're on.
And then number 4 is thou, or what?
1 second. I'll finish it up, and then. Okay. So from here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's what I thought. Thou, and thou is a divine name and should not be shortened.
He's not actually shortening it.
Well, as part of the 4, in the phrase, they tend to get shortened.
Well, the key here is that in English, thou camest. It's not thou camest. We would say thou camest. At least that's how Papa Friendly stressed it.
Okay.
So thou camest here. That this is your stress on came.
Okay.
So thou camest unto.
Because it is stressed. So.
And it's more like how you would read it in English. So if I said, thou didst ascend, that would be thou. You know, thou is the strong word there.
But you, myself, and I is the only important thing in any given English sentence. In other words, we don't stress holy names in English.
Well, we did in the first line. Thou didst ascend.
No, we don't in speaking. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
We stress I. We do stress ourselves because we're the most important, not God.
At least not normally when I say the psalm. So hopefully, you know, we'll see. Let's sing
because of the Protestants.
Let's sing it one more time.
Or we're one of the elect, so we, of course, as Calvinists, elect. Yeah.
So that is to send the cross. Thou didst ascend the cross, O Jesus, who didst descend from heaven. Thou camest unto death, O immortal life. Thou camest unto those in darkness, O thou who art the true light. Thou camest unto the fallen, O resurrection of all. O our light and our Savior, glory be to thee. Nice. Very nice. Cool.
Okay, Mom.
Yep.